Hey guys, Sebi here. A lot of the time I get asked a pretty simple question that I feel like a lot of players aren't able to answer on their own. What is a winning lane and what is a losing lane? How do we, as players, identify whether we win or lose a lane purely from looking at a matchup? There are several things to consider when we want to identify what is a winning lane and what is a losing lane. These can be pretty simple things that players are able to discuss to themselves before a matchup actually begins. Things to consider include, what does my champion want to do in the lane? And what does their champion want to do in the lane? What does my champion's full combo look like? And what does their full combo look like? Does my full combo work better than theirs in a laning phase situation? And what runes did I take? What runes did they take? Did I or them take Ignite or TP? These are all pretty simple concepts to consider when walking to lane or even before the loading screen. The example matchup we'll use today is Fiora versus Aatrox. These are two champions that perhaps don't want to accomplish the same thing in an overall game state. However, it is a relatively even matchup that can go either way depending on whether both players are able to identify what their champion does, what the enemy champion does, and how they're able to use their own kit to win the matchup. We'll first start at the Fiora side of the matchup. We'll look at what a full combo as Fiora looks like. This full combo is a variation of the following: Q, auto, E1, E2, auto, Q. And sometimes we use riposte, which is Fiora's W. So, next we consider what parts of Fiora's kit work well into Aatrox. There are actually a few things for Fiora that work well, quite particularly into Aatrox. The ability to dodge Aatrox's Qs with Fiora Q, Fiora W or riposte, countering any of Aatrox's Qs and even his W, and Fiora's E1 slow, preventing Aatrox's escape ability with his E. And then, from here, we have to think about, as Fiora, how does certain parts of our kits, perhaps being unavailable to us, enable us to play differently? So for example, if our Q is down, or even our riposte more importantly, how do we, as players, have to play differently into Aatrox? Furthermore, are there any things we can do item-wise, as Fiora, that can help our lane against Aatrox? Items such as Executioners and Tab Eyes help our side of the matchup against Aatrox, particularly in a situation where perhaps the lane is even, or more slightly favoured towards Aatrox due to something that happened earlier in the matchup. Now, let's look at the Aatrox side of the matchup. As Aatrox, our full combo looks like a variation of this: Q1, W, E plus Q2, auto, Q3, auto. Aatrox's combo is quite diverse in the sense that he's able to use his Q at different times as long as it remains within the cooldown of the ability. Furthermore, he can use his E at different points to surprise the enemy with his Q, and thus perhaps catch Fiora out without using her riposte. So we must consider what part of Aatrox's kit works well into Fiora. Well, though Aatrox Qs can be blocked by Fiora's riposte, it is very easy to dodge the riposte stun with Aatrox's E, pending that you actually still have it. And Aatrox Q is on quite a low cooldown compared to Fiora riposte, and so Aatrox has plenty of time while this riposte is down to punish the Fiora, knowing that Fiora is not able to fight back without riposte. So from here, as Aatrox, we must think about the certain ways we have to play, depending on situations. One of these situations could be if Fiora W is up. How do we as Aatrox play differently to ensure that this riposte is not used in a productive manner by Fiora? Additionally, as mentioned as Fiora, are there any items Aatrox can purchase into Fiora to help benefit him in lane? These items can include Executioners and Tab Eyes like we previously mentioned, and Aatrox has the ability to purchase Bramble Vest, as Fiora is constantly using a low cooldown Q to punish Aatrox from distance. So, considering the previous things we've talked about, both as Fiora and as Aatrox, which side is favoured in this matchup? Perhaps there isn't a favoured side. I'll leave that up to you to decide. Personally, I think that this is perhaps one of the more even matchups in League of Legends, particularly in the top lane. Both champions have plenty of ability to counter their opponent and outplay their opponent, through pure mind games and also through knowing what both their champion and the enemy champion can and cannot do when they are missing certain abilities. Furthermore, specific item purchases can sway the lane towards either side, but sometimes these item purchases can put you behind towards your core build, so it's up to you to decide whether these purchases will benefit you enough in lane to be able to come out of lane without these purchases being detrimental towards your core gameplay. Obviously, past this point, you have to consider how can we, as players, balance the wave so that we're able to punish our opponent should they make a mistake, and then be able to push that mistake past just simply killing the opponent or taking tower plates. Perhaps I'll address this in a future video, but for now, I hope you can consider what I've talked about in this video and use what you've learned in your next solo queue game.